how's it going? My name is Ryan Jampole, and I am the creator of Taka, my new original YA graphic novel with IDW Comics. Taka is about a punk delinquent girl who accidentally frees this horde of ancient evil robot monsters called Mecha, and reluctantly becomes the Mech Fighter, a tokusatsu-inspired henshin hero, to fight them, beat them up, and recapture them all. It's got action, adventure, comedy, and a little bit of heart. Yeah, and here I am drawing Taka. This took about an hour in total, but as a mercy, I've sped up the video to about 16 minutes. Now, I've already fleshed out the head here, which right off the bat is an artist no-no. We're trained to sketch out the entire figure, and we tell young artists looking for advice to do the same. But here I am, not doing that. And I almost always do it this way, because I always feel like, this drawing is going to be okay because I know that the head is okay. And then once I have that, I'll start to go down and I'll build the body. You'll also notice that there's these little marks that I've made down the page. Those are measurements based on the height of her head to set up her proportions. Which is another reason why I like to draw the head completely first, so I know how to scale the rest of the body. So like her torso, from her chin to the bottom of her pelvis is 2 heads, and from her hips to the soles of her feet are 3 heads. So she's about 6 heads tall, not including the giant spiky hair. Now I'm laying out some guidelines here, just to make sure everything is in the right perspective, which is something you're also supposed to do at the beginning of the drawing as part of like the construction phase, but I do it as I go, and yeah, it's a bit chaotic, but it works for me. So now that I've got like this general idea of her figure, putting clothes over that figure, it's really helpful if you have your figure drawn out and you just draw the clothes over it so you know where everything's gonna go. Here I'm putting on her tattoos and her armbands. One thing about Taka is that she is completely non-symmetrical. She's got 3, tattoos banded across her left wrist, and then 2 on her right wrist. She's got a little spiky strap around her left shoulder, and then a spiky bracelet on her right wrist. Her shirt has like a tear on the bottom. You can see right now, like her shorts are not the same length. The left leg and the right leg are different lengths. She's got all these patches on it, so like her whole thing is very patchwork. She's really non-symmetrical, which makes her just a huge pain to draw. But it does, it does make her pretty unique. But the amount of times that I've messed it up and had to go back and sort of, I drew this on the wrong side and had to go back and fix it. And now that, I've pretty much got her figured out here, but I did notice that her limbs were looking a little thin, so I'm just taking the free transform tool, and I'm just sort of thickening out her limbs a bit more. And I believe now, yeah, so I thought her head was a little small, so I made it a little bigger and fit it onto her neck a little more. I think I'm going to make her neck a tiny bit longer in a second, but I could be jumping the gun here. Yeah, there, the feet were not the same size, so I fixed that up. You'll also notice that I flip the canvas a lot while I'm working, and do that for 2 reasons. One, so I know that things are sort of, lined up correctly, and the other is it's easier to draw sort of moving with, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but moving with like the curvature of your arm rather than against it. So I will move the canvas so that I'm always sort of moving in that same motion. It just kind of keeps everything looking really clean and smooth. All right, so now that the sketch is done, I'm going in there and sort of doing clean pencil lines. I decided not to do inks with this one because it would take too long. And instead, I'm just going to do really clean lines, and then I'm going to make those lines really, really dark, and it will basically become ink lines. So right now I'm just sort of filling it all in. She's got 4 spikes on her head and her little swoop. She's always got like scratch marks, like dirt scratchy marks on her face and her clothes. She's very dirty, I guess is the right word. And you can see her clothes is always very ratty, very torn up. You'll see that there's also this grid that I drew on her shirt and on her tattoo arm, and that's going to come into play in a little bit, and you'll see why. Um, Yep, her costume. She's got these little spikes on her shoulders that they don't really make any sense, but I thought they looked cool. Yeah, so I'm just sort of outlining the tattoo now. She has like a full sort of half sleeve that goes a little bit over her chest, but not too far. And like I said before, she's got the the studded bracelet on one side and the studded shoulder strap on the other. Fingerless gloves because they're the coolest. And these little X's that you saw me putting in, those are to indicate where I'm going to fill in black later, just so I don't forget. Yeah. Oh, also, Taka wears this flannel shirt always around her waist. She kind of lives off of her back, so she always keeps a jacket nearby in case it's cold. But she's got nowhere to keep it, so she just wears it around her waist. Her build is kind of muscular. And there I am putting in the little denim, I don't know, frizzies at the bottom of her shorts, and you'll see like her clothes has a lot of sewing stitching on it, and that's just stuff she's done herself. She pretty much owns 2 shirts in total, so she has to make sure that she, if they get ripped up, she's got to take care of them. I see. There's me rotating the canvas to make sure that I'm always moving in that same angle with my arm so that the lines stay nice and clean. And she's got spikes on her boots for no reason. I just thought they were cool. I think in her original design she had 3 spikes on her shoes, and then I realized it just wasn't space to have them, so I knocked them down to 2. And that's right now I'm adding in the stitching to her little patches. Again, like she does this all herself, so it's not the prettiest looking thing, but it works, and that's enough for her. Her shoes are, you can see like right there, like the shoes, they're not tight against her ankles. They're pretty loose fitted because they don't really fit her, but it's all she's got. And I think we're just about done. Yep, we're just about done with the lines. And now you see the lines are going to instantly turn dark black, well, black, and boom, now it's ink lines. And now we're just moving in and sort of adding in fills. There you go. And I think I forgot a little part on her neck. Okay, so now this is where those 2 grids come into place. This is a big book. It's 250 pages, and I wasn't going to go in there and draw the logo on her shirt 250 times. 250 times. It's more like 1,000 times because it's like 5 panels per page. So I did it once, and then I just sort of manipulated it onto the grid that I drew. And the same thing with the tattoo here. I'm just going to use the mesh tool to sort of fit her vampire burger tattoo just around her arm. It's not perfect. It's okay, but it's better than going in there and having to draw this thing a million times. I think we're gonna fill in those spots. There you go. So now the lines are pretty much done. I think we're gonna add in some scratches here and there. Yeah, gotta add scratches. She's always getting in scuffles, so she's always sort of a little beat up. So now we're gonna start adding colors. I think I always add in a solid color in the background, but as like the base layer. Easier to just throw colors on top of that base layer. Her eyes and her hair, same color. Her shirt is never white. It's always like an off-white. I don't really like to use pure white. I always like a little off-white. Same thing with her eyes. They're never pure white. they're always just, there's like a little tinge of sometimes blue, sometimes a warmer color. It just depends on the image. Yep, now I'm just filling in the little patches here. And like I said, because she's so not symmetrical, even her shoes are different colors. She's again with the shoes, no pure white. It's a little off white. I don't know why. I just never felt like I like to use. There's the only time that I'll use pure white is with the shines in their eyes. Okay, that's the logo on her shirt. Done. Now, that would have taken me, you know, an hour to draw, but I drew it once, and then I just manipulate around the image. Done. Same thing with the hamburger tattoo. I think now, yeah. So now I'm adding in the pattern on her shirt, her sweatshirt, her flannel. Sometimes I'll just flatten it all down in just one way, and sometimes I'll manipulate it around. This one I just left it normal. So now we're into the shading part. So when I shade, I don't like to draw in shade. I like to carve out light. So I'll shade the whole thing, and then I'll just start cutting out where I want the light to be. Um, and I do that because if I do it the other way, I'm not going to add enough shadows. I'll never do it right. So I always will do it this way, and it makes sure that there's just a nice, fair amount of shadows on the figure. And then after this, I'm going to start adding in sort of like a reflective light on the other side. Yeah, so there you go. I think this is like a green color, but the way um, the blending mode I think is soft light. Yeah, so now I'm just going in and adding that. It makes it a little more 3D. I'm sure it's not perfect, but it's good enough that it's passable. I'm sure that the three-dimensionality of it is probably wrong, but that's okay. Yeah, so now I'm just adding in like lighting um, on the other side of things, underside of things, I should say. Yeah, I mean, I keep my coloring pretty simple. I don't go too crazy into it. I don't do a lot of rendering, just because it takes a long time, and I got a lot of work to do. Oh yeah, so here I forgot to do her makeup on her eyes. This looks a little different than it does in the book. I figure she changes, you know, she doesn't always have to have the same makeup. She changes it around sometimes, different shape, however she's feeling. Right now I'm adding in this sort of like hot light around um, the rim lighting here, and I'm smoothing it out just a bit because it's a little intense, and I think I'm gonna knock back the opacity just a little bit, and I think we're pretty much done at this point. I'm just doing a little effect on the lines, gives it this hazy look. Put it in a nice border. Always put your work in a nice border. Signature, which I mess up. Whoop, whoop, there you go. Forgot the year. That's the year. I believe now I put like a nice little grain effect that I like to throw onto my lines. And I think the last thing I do, yeah, is this. I forgot what the effect is called, or it's sort of like the RGB of like a TV, but it's slightly offset. And that's it. And that's the end. There it is. There's Taka. Thanks a lot. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed the book. Um, if you haven't picked up the book yet, please do. It's available at your local comic book store, at your local bookstore. It's available online from, you know, from what I've seen, like every retailer's got it. Um, yeah, please take a look, and that's it. Hope you enjoy. Thanks so much.